over here at Dodge Ram Chrysler headquarters, we see trucks just keep piling up. We still have 23s, 4s, as well as 25s rolling in, and Jeeps aren't getting any less. This lineup is growing every single day. So we're seeing more Wranglers, we're seeing Grand Cherokees, Wagoneers, Wagoneer S's, which are grossly overpriced. We're talking vehicles that are well into the six figures. And even over here, we see the Grand Cherokees, which aren't necessarily an affordable vehicle anymore. Here's a Grand Cherokee Altitude 4x4 right here. By the time you throw a few features and options on here, you're at $67,000 for a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Okay, what about over here? We have all kinds of Jeeps, all-terrain, regular tires, a beautiful rough texture roof like this. Absolutely nice. We have painted roofs like this silver as well as this black. A whole variety of different Jeeps, but they come at a cost. And that's a big reason to the downfall of Dodge, Ram, Chrysler, essentially Stellantis. Stellantis is making some big moves and they're losing staff left, right, and center. There's another executive that just walked out this week and we're seeing they're chopping their frontline staff, the actual workers doing the work. They're cutting them off and literally trimming down their workforce, which unfortunately is the very thing that they need to have, in other words, to build vehicles. Without workforce, they don't have vehicles. Without vehicles, they can't sell and make profits. Stock prices nose down. What is Stellantis possibly going to do with poor sales of Jeeps, Rams, Dodge, and as well the Pacifica, the single little loaner? Well, guess what? The federal government is actually stepping in and they're going to be throwing a pile of money at what they perceive as a bit of a problem. It's actually quite interesting. Sales are very, very much down. And here we have one of their base model vehicles. This is the Compass, and of course it's a Jeep product. These aren't selling like hotcakes by any means. Of course, they're very basic. It's a 4x4. This is here clearly a North edition. Not sure what that means. Clearly we're in the northern hemisphere. Maybe that's what they're getting at. I'm not sure what the whole point of that name is, but let's take a look at the sticker. Here we have a 24 Jeep. Of course, this is a Compass, in fact, and we have the Compass North 4x4. Oh, all the sticky. I can feel all the little sticky from the birds and the saplings from the tree above, dropping all the snot on here, and the birds taking care of their business on here. The birds don't like this vehicle that much either, and neither would you with a Compass North 4x4, and its stickers at $47,000. There's no way this can possibly make sense. And the CEO over at Stellantis is trying to rebuild the whole brand share. Of course, they're trying to take the market share, which they've given up. And as a matter of fact, vehicles like this, we're looking at a beautiful, this is a 4xe, clearly a Wrangler, gorgeous, absolutely. We have a Rubicon. Here you can see the plug-in component, trail rated Jeep Wrangler. As you'll notice, it has the blue decals on there and we have the blue hooks. That's a giveaway that we're talking about electrified powertrain here. Of course, we do have the all-terrain rubber, and I mean, it's a beautiful vehicle. We get the painted roof on here, but it comes at a cost, and that's the problem. They've lost 17% on the sales of the Rubicons in Q2 here on the Wranglers. These are not selling. But why is that? Well, we have a Wrangler Rubicon X 4xe, and it's a 24 model year, as you see right here. $73,270 as base, but that's not a cheap, and it comes with, oh no, why? Why would they do this? 2-liter i4, of course, a turbo FEV engine, so plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, and it's an 8-speed TorqueFlite automatic transmission, and this sticker is at $85,155. That's why these aren't selling. And then we have the Durango. This is a Dodge product, all part of the Stellantis envelope, and of course we have a sticker on there. This is a Hemi, and as you can see, very generic, and it is ending its production run. We're dealing with an RT right here, and very kind of garden variety. It's no wonder the popularity is going down. They actually lost 9% in Q2 from this year to the year before, so sales are down on the Durango as well, substantially. But a lot of that has to do with the price of these too. And we have a Durango RT all-wheel drive, base stickers at $71,920. Few features, you get the 5.7 Hemi, because this is the Hemi version. As you'll notice, I did point out we have a kind of garden variety. It's not the SRT, but hey, $75,810 means that this vehicle is not necessarily all that cheap, and it's no wonder that they only sold just over 17,000 units in Q2 of the Durango as they waved bye-bye to the production run. And even the Chargers and the Challengers are on the way out. The production run is ending. They're talking about going pure EV on a lot of these vehicles. And the Charger and Challengers, 11%, 34% down. They're both losing, Chargers, Challengers, as they run out. You would think that people that really wanted to get their hands on these, and if they were as hot as everybody perceived they were, you'd probably want to get one while you could still get an internal combustion engine vehicle. But people aren't rushing out to buy these. And a lot of it, again, comes down to price. Here's another beauty. This one looks like a little dressed up. You can tell by the rear bumpers. This one looks like probably a reserve, something higher spec. But it's the cost of living crisis that I keep talking about, because it's true. If you made vehicles more affordable for people, drop the interest rates a little bit, you'd have more people coming to the doors to buy these vehicles. You'd have more people that could actually afford to buy some of these products. But instead, Stellantis is deciding, we're going to put all in, we're going to cut staff, we're going to sell vehicles for higher margins, and the hell with the rest, and see where the marbles fall. But this is where the marbles are falling. That's why their vehicles are stacking up left, right, and center, and they're just not selling. So let's take a look at this little unit. Here's a Grand Cherokee, and we're talking about a Grand Cherokee L Summit Reserve 4x4. And this one is a sticker or base price of 82 grand. What do you get with that? Well, you get a 5.7 V8, you get an 8-speed TorqueFlite Auto, and it gives you a pretty decent list. Electric park brakes, advanced brake assist, you get Quadra lift air suspension, passive entry. You get a whole pile of great features on here. But how much is the price of this? $97,645. $100,000, 100 grand, folks. Out the door price, $110,000. Then throw luxury tax on that, because we're Canadians and we like to take it. And that's what's happening. Everybody, the consumers are done taking it. Taxes, taxes, taxes. And then these dealers come along and charge you 100 grand for a mid-level SUV. Things are just broken. And here we have a 25, and so the 2025s are showing up, and we're seeing actually this whole row of 2025s, and they're not selling all that quickly. I've seen most of these here, and actually more. I see more and more of them showing up every single week. And clearly we have a Ram, the typical front grille. That hasn't changed a ton, but what you have seen is the way this overall looks. The hood look is a little different. 1500 e-torque. It's not a Hemi e-torque, and we'll get to that. This one is a Ram. Of course, you get painted handles, so it's not total base model. It's not, the Tradesman, but it's not that high a spec. You don't have running boards on there. You do have painted guards here, but you do get highway rubber here and some basic rims. Basically, as you're looking at the back, you get the big Ram script. Some people love that, some people don't. It is a 4x4, and you can tow a little weight with this thing, but look, no spray and liner. You do get a rear slider, which is nice. But here, look at the doors. This is more like my older truck. You get not the mega cab, you get the smaller extended cab here. And what we actually have is a 1500 Bighorn Sport Quad 4x4, and it's a 25 model year. Now this one here, stickers starts at $63,000, and it looks like this has got the 3.6 liter Pentastar under the hood over there, and it's coupled up as well to the 8-speed automatic transmission, VVTi, e-torque. Again, it's that mild hybrid assist going on under the hood of this vehicle. And of course, it's a very basic spec. As I look in there, I don't see a lot going on. I see basic fabric seats, not too much, and pretty simple vehicle. No sunroof, fabric, pretty basic looking unit all the way around, really. And this vehicle is stickers at $69,425. And as you can see, a pretty short list of options. Not a lot there actually to talk about. So that's just where we're at. 70 grand for what I would consider a fairly low level spec of pickup truck for 2025. That's what you get to look forward to. And the worst part is customers are just looking for discounts. None of this $2,000 off, $2,500 off. People are begging for bigger discounts. They want to see $20,000, $25,000 off of these initial high sticker prices that are coming from the manufacturer. But the dealers are snookered, and that's the problem. The dealers are challenging and fighting, pardon the pun, challenging the manufacturer, the OEM, to say, look, we need help here. You're charging too much. You're not giving us the flexibility. We need more base models on the lot, because a lot of the base models aren't becoming available. Some people just want that base Wrangler 2-door ragtop. Some people want that base Grand Cherokee, but it's not available, and the manufacturers are making it difficult to get those base models out there. And that's all because during the pandemic, all was going on, they realized they didn't need to sell as many vehicles, but they could sell each one for more money. So what they started to do was only sell the higher margin vehicles, the higher profit margin, the bigger engine setups, the more technology, the more slick and more luxury oriented type vehicles were the ones that the dealers were getting. They couldn't even choose in a lot of cases, that the manufacturer was only sending them high specs so they can charge top dollar and get the maximum yield out of the lower level of sales. But this is literally crushing the buyer in half. A lot of people that I've talked to just can't afford to buy it. I can't afford. I look at a truck for $80,000, even if I could afford it, that's a tough pill to swallow. I mean, most people that are in that 30-40% tax bracket and income tax, I mean, if you're talking about an $80,000 truck, you need 120, 130 grand before taxes to pay for that. And these vehicles are all priced in that $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 range. And then according to my statistics right here, it looks as though Rams like these here have suffered the massive amount, probably the worst abuse in terms of lower sales or reduction in sales, Q2 from this year to the year before. And we're actually looking at Q2 sales this year at about 90,100 trucks, and of the ProMaster 15,000 and change, and they're actually down a whopping 26%. That's right, sales are down 26% year over year from these vehicles here. Nobody can afford to buy them. It's not that they don't want them, they can't afford them. So even their vans, and you know, we talk about Dodge, Ram, of course Jeep, and then how about Chrysler? The only product that they have in their lineup right now is the Pacifica, like we see right here. Sure, it does look cute. It's a nice color, it's very attractive. In fact, you do get some nice wheels on there, big sliding door, easy access to bring all the little kidlings along for a ride. This is a 23 model year, but these aren't selling all that well either, and sales are down drastically for the Pacifica as well. There's been about a 16% drop in sales in Q2 as well for the Pacifica, so even these are considered high priced. And people are getting a little bit more choosy with their money. They'd rather buy something that's, even if they're going to spend the same amount of money, buying a Toyota or Honda represents something that might be a little more reliable, a little more secure where they're putting their money, rather than taking a chance on something like this, which looks nice, but the reliability may not necessarily be stamped yet in gold. And then we have the only vehicle not necessarily exiting the Dodge or Stellantis territory, and we're talking about clearly the Hornet right here. Here we have a few, and they unfortunately are the worst selling. 4,299 have sold in Q2, and clearly not enough to even warrant having them around. But that's interesting because the Alfa Romeo Tonale, which is the same vehicle that this is based on, is up in sales. So clearly it's a branding, pricing, a little bit of everything mixed into one, and maybe the Tonale, at least it brings the Italian flavor. So even though it's the same junk underneath, you're still dealing with something that has a little bit more flair to it. This here is just a Dodge, just isn't enough to bring people into the door to buy these. I was just down in California actually last week, and I actually saw one. I was down there for 2 weeks, ripping up and down the freeways, going to all those little places that you do when you go to California and Los Angeles, and I saw one of those in 2 weeks for, you know, what would be relatively affordable SUV in California where the freeways are flooded in vehicles. I could not see more than one. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel up there. Hey buddy, which Dodge are you gonna buy? And so as you see all these Jeeps with the blue hooks, that's an indication that they have electric add-on or extra support, whether they're plug-in hybrid. We know that Stellantis is trying to put a lot more money and effort into electrification. And you see these Jeeps actually have the black hooks. So those are these are purely ICE. And these are all diesel trucks. These are mostly heavy duty vehicles right here. And I'm gonna find a vehicle. I find something very interesting. See, because that's part of the problem. Stellantis has said we're going all in with multiple different drivetrains, multiple different technologies, and we want to have so many more options on electrified vehicles that it's going to be enough to just dazzle you to the end of the moon. But here, this vehicle here, as we see, is a limited Ram, and it's a 4x4. Quite cool indeed. Limited. Well, my money's limited, my budget's limited, but this truck apparently has everything going for it. First of all, you get the spray-in box liner. That's a nice update. Of course, you have the nice sliders, painted guards here. You have a heavy-duty tire for towing, glossy wheels. At least there's no steel wheels there. You do have these nice heavy-duty step boards right there. Look, they even say Ram on there. I gotta like that. Painted handles. I look up in there and I see the sliders, so it's got actually a sunroof in there. I do see it's got some heated, cooled, it looks like heated and cooled seats, leather, lots of nice touch. It's got the big center screen in there. As you notice, very, very nice. Leather all over in this vehicle. It is decked right out. Big heavy duty mirrors like this, and it's the Cummins turbo diesel 2500 HD. So for those that do a lot of heavy, pulling or towing, know that you've got to get the 3500. This is the lighter duty, the 2500. We know that the HDs, the 3500s are not selling all that well. So instead, they're really trying to incentivize these, but this to me doesn't look like a huge incentive when I see a Ram 2500 limited crew cab night edition 4x4, and it's a 24 model year. Yeah, there's a whole pile of options. This options list is pretty substantial, as you can see right there. And then the grand total before taxes is $118,050. Oh, I can't. $120,000 for this truck, plus mats, plus PPF, plus extras and taxes. That truck there, friends, it's going to be $130,000 out the door. I don't even know what to make of that. But what Stellantis is talking about is upping all of these vehicles to no longer look like ICE. Even though they say they're going to have some available, they're clearly putting a lot more of their efforts into the hybrid as well as the pure electric marketplace, because in Europe it's a much more popular space and people are buying those like candy. But here in North America, a lot of people are being isolated, left out. The typical North American buyer needs to cover big distances in a short period of time, and you can't do it with a pure EV. Without all these plug-in stations, it's just much more challenging. The extreme weather we get here, -30, -40 degrees Celsius, you're not going to be very successful with a pure electric vehicle. So it's great to have as an option, but they're forcing the hand. But here's the real kicker. So we all said this, and Dodge, there's a lot of people out there believing that Dodge is struggling and they're going to literally have to shut the doors because they're not selling vehicles. They've got these Jeeps, Dodges, Chryslers, trucks, Rams, everything just piling up all over the lot here, and they're not selling. So what's the plan? Well, pure EV. But did you hear the latest? The federal government is actually promising at least about $1.7 billion to support, substantiate, rejuvenate some of those ICE plants that were dying. For example, Dodge plants. GM is going to be supported in this, and Stellantis is mentioned as being heavily supported by the federal government to the tune of almost $2 billion. We all wish we could get handouts from the government in that capacity, but this is what's starting to happen. In a subtle way, we're talking about bailouts again. We've all heard that word, the B word. Yes, bailouts. And that's what seems to be starting to happen here. They may not have enough money to keep pushing their products. What does that do for the brands like the Mercedes or the BMWs or the Hondas or the Toyotas that are all working through trying to create more products that are hybrid or electric vehicles? They're out struggling on their own, trying to manufacture their own, trying to further develop and enhance their product line. Meantime, federal government comes along and says, here, $1.7 billion, go ahead, go hard, hire all the people. Now the benefit with that is, of course, they're saying that a lot of people are going to remain employed, so a lot of factory workers are going to continue working, and a lot of the plants that were alleged to be shutting down in short order are likely to be staying online for that much longer. So while there's people getting laid off and the frontline workers are starting to go bye-bye, the timing may not be great for them. But the reality is, according to inside sources, the federal government is promising a ton of money for these manufacturers like Ram, Stellantis, GM, so that they can continue developing and push more of the electric vehicles out to market, which clearly is an indication that the government, the manufacturers, nobody's listening to what the buyers are actually looking for. Quality, affordable internal combustion vehicles. So they're clearly selling these big SUVs, and which is bizarre to me because these all start at $100,000 plus Canadian funds, which makes it quite interesting. And to note the fact that the other vehicles, like the Gladiator, is in the tank, and they had to put the kibosh and cancel the base model Cherokee. Clearly, the small SUVs aren't selling, the medium-sized SUVs aren't selling, trucks, vans, nothing's selling very well. Sales are tanking, except for one model. Is that enough to keep Stellantis going? If the federal government has anything to say about it, they're going to ensure that brands like Jeep, Ram, Chrysler, Stellantis are going to keep on trucking. Probably going to be more EVs and hybrid vehicles. We'll see. Time will tell. It depends. Election time, that's going to tell the whole story and the direction that this new industry is going. And with all of that said, definitely want to check that one out as well as that. Yes, cost of living crisis is real, but there's still some help and there's some options out there available for each and every one of you. Hope to see each and every one of you. Love to hear from you. Talk to you real soon. See you then. Bye-bye.